Hey, welcome to Out of My Head on YouTube, filmed at the Fact 8 Studios in Bellows Falls. As usual, as normal, as expected, I have Collin and we have a special guest. Collin, would you care to introduce our special guest?
This is Alex, I hate him.
I like Alex.
There's a lot of joy in Collin's life.
Yes.
This is my usual buddy that we debate politics with. He
There
tries
we
to
go.
get me going, I try to get him going, and we just both be extremists that we don't actually believe in.
Yeah, my goal is to anger Collin every day.
He's pretty easy to anger,
It's
isn't he?
pretty easy to anger when you have the shades on and you only see the view through your Trumpian.
Come on now, we both know I'm not a Trump tard.
Okay.
So
on screen is a meme.
on
What is
screen
this
is a meme. It is a picture I'm pulling up on my phone right now so I can quote it. It's a meme, it's a picture of Jim Comey, former FBI director Jim Comey. Says Hillary is guilty but shouldn't be charged. Next to a picture of Robert Mueller that says Trump is not guilty but should be charged. This was at the top of r/the Donald on Reddit, which is a pro-Donald Trump circle jerk. Good to pay attention.
Or Russian hackers.
Yes, it's all the Russians.
I plan to say very little in this video.
So
What's your problem?
the reason I sent this meme to KMO was A, it has a point. B, it is also a little missing a lot of nuance, so it gets everyone on both sides fired up and is good for YouTube clickbait.
Here's my one opinion. Jim Comey seems like he wants to be a celebrity. The timing of his various announcements and his book and book tour. I mean, I heard him interviewed on Terry Gross, just as the book was coming out. It seems like he really wants to be somebody, whose name and face people recognize.
And he was out of a job anyways.
Yeah.
So he was just looking for an opportunity to make some money. I mean, you guys got a mortgage to pay or something, I believe, so.
Here, I'll ask one question, then I'll stop talking. Collin, what is your definition of hypocrisy?
I don't know, I just use hypocrisy to define hypocrisy.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Two conflicting, that's hard. When two things from the same circumstance have conflicting results and actions taken upon them, in this circumstance, in most circumstances, it's just like two things that should be the same or different, two things different, contradicting oneself on the same thing. So like when I say, I hate blah blah blah, but I also love blah blah blah, and it's hypocrisy.
Well, I think it's
You define it better than me.
well, it's standing up and espousing some moral platitude over specific actions, but yet you do the same thing. That's hypocrisy. So I remember a time I was being, we're all hypocrites as human beings, and we try to, as we get older, we try to limit our hypocrisy. But I was sitting there at a restaurant, be like, oh, how come these restaurants, they don't have like healthy food? How come I can't get a healthy breakfast? Like it's always like bacon and eggs and pancakes with syrup. I just wish there was a restaurant. We need to eat better at breakfast. And then the waitress comes up and I order, the Hungry Man pancake, bacon and eggs. And then my two friends looked at me like, dude, you were just complaining for an hour about eating healthy for breakfast. And I was like, yeah, I'm a hypocrite. So
That's a good example, actually, because
Yes.
it brings up a dichotomy that I wanted to talk about. This comes from the book. It's a novel by Neil Stephenson. I think it's The Diamond Age, or A Young Lady's Illustrated Primer, where there's a character who gets called in before his bosses, and the bosses grill him on something, and they say, there's two kinds of hypocrisy. One, there's a sort of hypocrisy where we state a value that we hold, and then our actions don't live up to that value. That's what Alex is talking about right here. And that is a normal human failing and not something that we should really hold people to account for. But there's another kind of hypocrisy where we publicly proclaim our belief in a particular morality or a particular standard of behavior, which we ourselves have no intention of ever adhering to. We just put that out there to try to control other people's behavior so that we can violate our own standards, intentionally. We're using it to manipulate other people and to control a situation. That, I think, is the condemnatory style, the condemnatory flavor of hypocrisy. And I imagine that that's probably what's getting under your skin about.
Okay, so maybe instead of hypocrisy,
Mhm.
although that's how it's used sometimes, but not by those definitions, maybe I meant more like inequality and injustice.
Let's bring up Hillary's emails.
Okay, well, so I don't. But her emails.
But her
But
emails.
her emails. No, I was the main contradiction. The point of the meme is so I went and I found the quotes on the internet. I got the James Comey quotes from LA Times and the Mueller quotes, I heard them, so I just took them off the internet. I was like, yeah, those ones are right.
I think this might represent
This is my
more research than has gone into all the other episodes of this show combined.
Yes.
but the meme is incorrect because.
Well, let me read the quotes out,
Okay.
and then we can discuss how they mean somehow the same thing and somehow opposite things at the same time. Let me find the right one. Although there is evidence of this is Jim Comey talking about Clinton email scandal, blah blah blah. Although there is evidence of potential violations of the statutes regarding the handling of classified information, our judgment is that no reasonable prosecutor would bring such a cause. It says there's evidence, but we're not going to charge. Kind of.
What that means, there isn't enough evidence for them to get a conviction. The prosecutors make that decision all the time. Well, we have some evidence that this guy murdered, but it's just not enough for prosecution, so you're free to go.
So here's another quote from the same hearing. Although we did not find clear evidence that Secretary Clinton or her colleagues intended to violate laws governing the handling of classified information, there is evidence that they were extremely careless in their handling of very sensitive, highly classified information.
Extremely what?
Careless.
Careless.
Which, or in Comey's original speech, said gross negligence, but that would have made it a crime, so they changed it.
Yeah.
Those two mean the same thing, by the way.
Yeah. No, I mean, and you're correct. When it comes
So
to...
he's saying we have evidence, they mishandled classified information, but we're not charging them.
Yeah.
That's what those two together mean. Also, you don't need to prove intent for mishandling classified information.
But it's the same thing in Trump's case. So again, when it comes to a prosecutor...
Trump quotes now.
I'm just trying to... When it comes to a prosecutor, there's politics and the ability to be able to prosecute. So...
Oh, I understand this. You
Yeah.
need
Yeah.
to file a charge, you need a probable cause. But for it to be proven guilty, you need proof beyond a reasonable doubt. So most prosecutors, when they don't have proof beyond a reasonable doubt, don't prosecute. I understand that.
Colin,
I've also
before you
seen
go
the
on,
evidence.
if you would, just recap your concerns and points up to this point.
I think, well,
Just for clarity's sake.
right now, I think Jim Comey had enough evidence to charge, but decided not to,
Okay?
which is fine. If he says he doesn't have enough, but my problem is when it comes into what Mueller says in this next quotes I'm going to read, it seems to be contradictory, even though it's both coming from the Department of Justice, and it might be a sign of political bias, or just me being. I just find it interesting mostly.
Well, I think...
Let me read my quotes.
You don't need to read your quote.
Yeah, he does.
Well, that's kind of the point of what I'm talking about.
All right.
He did the
finish
research. Let him
finish the
put it
quote.
out there.
Let me find the right quote first.
While you're finding the quote, I'll relate a funny story. I came in and Collin asked me about something having to do with Clinton's impeachment. And I had to think back on it because, to me it feels like it was a couple years back. And Collin said, I have to ask you because I wasn't alive at the time.
You were right.
And I thought, was it really that long
Yes,
ago?
this guy's a young...
Actually, I may have been 11 at the time because I was born in '98. I don't know what
Yeah.
part of his second term.
You weren't conscious or cogent at the time.
Yeah. Okay, so I found the quote. Mueller on the Trump. The volume includes a discussion of the Trump campaign's response to this activity, as well as our conclusion. This is talking about collusion, as well as our conclusion that there was insufficient evidence to charge a broader conspiracy. Which, though that quote matches up exactly with the other quote about from Jim Comey. Although there is evidence of violations, no reasonable prosecutor would bring such a case. Those two mean the same exact thing. Agreed?
Yeah.
They said there's evidence not enough to bring charges. But then my problem comes in when Mueller goes on to say, as set forth in the report after the investigation, if we had confidence that the president clearly did not commit a crime, we would have said so. What? A prosecutor's job, an investigator's job, is not to find evidence that someone did not commit a crime. So it should have been leave it there. Like Comey did, leave it at we don't have enough evidence to prosecute. In all legal system, that means innocent. And even goes on further, explains that under long-standing department policy, a president cannot be charged with a federal crime while he is in office. That is unconstitutional. Charging the president with a crime was therefore not an option we can consider. My main concern here is this conflicts with the first statement was we have insufficient evidence to charge a broader conspiracy, followed by charging the president was not an option. Why do you need to bring that up if you didn't have enough evidence to press charges?
Because he's more than an investigator. He is a public figure and a political figure, and he's speaking to a particular audience.
So we're saying there's politics involved in my Department of Justice report.
Well,
It's
if
pretty
it's an
clear.
investigation of the president, of course there's politics involved.
It's pretty clear. What are you saying? He's saying, okay.
He's saying, wah, 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 I want to confuse everyone.
No.
Say what you mean, damn it.
It's
if
really
we-
clear. He's saying, I'm on Team Blue. We hate Team Red. We particularly hate Team Orange. We failed to nail them with this investigation, but we can make, suggestive public statements which satisfied Team Blue.
Yeah.
It's
But this
telling
is-
Team Blue to go after obstruction of justice, which, to be clear, you have to prove intent for. So you have to prove Donald Trump, beyond a reasonable doubt, took an action to obstruct justice, and then prove that he intended to obstruct justice with those actions. Which it's very hard to prove intent of covering something up, obstructing justice, when you don't have enough evidence of an underlying crime.
Here's what I see to be the really meaningful similarity between Ken Starr's investigation of Clinton in the 90s and Robert Mueller's
Please.
investigation of Trump now. Ken Starr was originally charged with looking into a Clinton real estate deal in Arkansas that happened before he was president, and found nothing there, but happened upon this, Bill Clinton was having sex with an intern and lied about it. We can get him. So Starr was a Republican. Republicans were the ones pushing for this. Democrats were dragging their heels and objecting to the entire proceeding, saying that it was politically motivated, that, there's really nothing here. And the exact same thing happened again with Trump. I mean, the initial investigation was supposed to be looking into whether or not Donald Trump colluded with agents of the Russian government to cheat and get elected unfairly in the United States. There was no evidence of that they could parlay into any sort of charges. But in the process of looking into that, they found some other place where he's vulnerable and pushed down there. So to me, these are exactly the same situation repeated, twice. And really, the only important variable was which party controlled the Senate.
Well,
So there's
Clinton
no possible way.
did actually lie, though.
He lied about having sex with an intern.
Okay, yes, but I'm just.
That wasn't the investigation. That
I'm
wasn't
aware
the
of that.
focus of the investigation. That, to me,
I'm not for
was
that, and I
completely
also
irrelevant.
don't think you should get in trouble for banging an intern. Perjury is illegal, considering all the people from this investigation, the Mueller investigation, got arrested for perjury.
Okay, but this is the game of politics. So let me
This
just
is the game of
let me
politics.
give you
We hold
my
Democrats to
my
different
view
standards.
on this.
I got it.
Okay, it's the game of politics.
The game of politics. I don't want politics in my Justice Department, and that's what I'm getting
Okay,
at.
but sometimes this happens. But they're not. They're these two statements with Hillary and Mueller or whatever.
Mueller.
Okay.
It looks like Mueller in print. So if you get
They
your
didn't-
news
Hillary
from print,
didn't-
it looks like Mueller.
Hillary didn't. So they didn't charge any of these guys. But they have to mull over. They have to mull over. They have to figure out whether or not there's enough evidence, whether or not they have enough money to prosecute, because these cases cost a lot of money to really prosecute and gather the evidence. It costs us a lot of money for Mueller to figure out that there wasn't a conspiracy, which was good, meaning that no political figure that's in office conspired directly with the Russians to get elected. He may have obstructed justice, but most scumbags, which politicians are, when they get caught with something, they're going to try to figure out a way to get out of it. So my point is, in terms of this stuff, that's all fine and dandy. This is all politics. But I think the prosecutors for both.
Fine and dandy.
No, I think the prosecutors, there's another level. They don't. So if they start being aggressive and start charging politicians for crimes and so on and so forth as an office, when they broke the Justice Department, they don't want to turn the Justice Department as a tool, as a political tool to a political opponent by, okay, we'll get the Justice Department, they're on our side, and we'll take this guy out. They don't want to use this office as a position of power to get rid of, because that office could be paid off. Someone could be like, hey, here's $1 million.
You mean like what happened in 2016?
Here's $1 million, Mr. DOG. Can you please find some crime that this guy committed and we can get him out of office? I'm just saying. What I'm saying is they are being very. They're not. What both of them are saying is, what they're saying is, if you think this person has done something, the power lies in Congress. So if you don't have enough people in your party to impeach these people of office, that's your job. That's why the power is. That's what Mueller said. It's your job. Here, this is what here's all the stuff I gathered. If you want to get rid of him, then you got to get enough votes, or vote him out, or figure out a way to impeach. And that's why they don't want to have the DOJ, sorry, become a. It's kind of like the FBI. The FBI during Hoover's term. I mean, you don't care about Hoover?
No.
Well, Hoover had dirt on every single politician and was able to wield that position for his own gain.
And he stayed in that position for what, decades?
Decades.
I mean, multiple presidential
It's
administrations.
called political blackmail, and that could easily you want to divide. That if the Department of Justice
There you go.
becomes too powerful in terms of locking up politicians who lie, that's a dangerous thing. So I think they're being both of them are being even though Comey wants to be a star.
So
That's my take on it. That's my take.
In his tirade, when I wasn't actually listening to any of
You weren't listening to what I was saying?
his voice kind of just goes in my ear and out the other. I spend way too much time with him. He usually tells me to do work and stuff. So during that, I realized what my main problem with these two answers is. One of these people actually did something wrong, and one of them just got accused of something.
So your
Based
position,
on the evidence I've seen.
Your position is that Donald Trump is basically an innocent victim who has played by the rules consistently.
He's a scumbag, but he did not collude with Russia. He did not have prostitutes pee on a bed that Obama slept in Russia, and that's where this entire investigation started.
They just said they couldn't find any evidence that he colluded with Russia. Doesn't mean that he's not guilty.
Okay, Donald Trump. I'm gonna misquote Chris Christie here. Yeah. Donald Trump couldn't even collude with his own campaign.
Well, it could be stupidity. Most likely stupidity.
It was. I'm very confident in that. I can look at evidence myself.
Yeah. I find the story that Donald Trump never intended to win the election. That he was really just looking to parlay his performance into a Fox News career. Fairly convincing.
Yes, I do too.
I find that convincing too. I mean, I think he had ulterior motives. One of them was not getting elected.
I need one more rant.
Okay, go ahead.
So currently,
closing statement.
Mueller's trying to get Congress to go after Trump for obstruction of justice for firing a guy he had every right to fire that everyone hated and wanted fired. Am I missing any part of this obstruction of justice charge I'm firing Comey?
I don't know if everyone hated him, but
everyone hated him. I can say that with confidence. But no one's charging obstruction of justice for smashing cell phones and bleach-pitting hard drives.
Where'd you get that from?
It's very well documented from emails.
I told you the reason why they're not charging.
Because she's a Democrat, we know.
No.
We don't charge Democrats. It's very clear.
Collin gets the last word. We got to keep these file sizes down. So.
All right, there's your last word.